The Texas Longhorns are only 2 wins away from the program's 5th national championship. The ATX is buzzing all about the program's first trip to the CFP, and it all begins on New Year's Day in the Sugar Bowl down in NOLA. So if you're not going to NOLA and you don't want to watch the game at home, I highly recommend you visit Shoal Creek Saloon. The beverages are very cold and the food is so delicious. You can't go wrong with Louisiana Delights, especially during the Sugar Bowl. Shoal Creek Saloon, your unofficial home to watch the game away from the stadium, and it's an ideal partner of Stories Inside the Man Cave podcast.
Wake your ass up
or take a damn nap.
And we're the 3 best friends that anybody could have.
It's time.
Sean, you were twerking. That's going to happen.
Murph, don't be a dick all your life.
It's one of the more fun podcasts I've ever done.
Hey, I tell you what, if you're not talking about sports in the man cave, I better not say you not a bed.
That's it.
Hey, this is a historic episode. My predecessors or successors, and then you've got the godfather of KVUE right there in the middle at the top. The All-State tight end himself from 1990, Jeff Jones, Tyler Feldman, and the Corey Mose from KVUE, the ABC affiliate. We all are part of this fraternity. And guys, for those watching, they made time for the man cave before they make the 8.5-hour trek to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl. And guys, my heart is warm tonight. My heart is very warm. Very grateful of you guys.
Happy to be here, man. What I'm not happy to hear, though, Clinch, I'll go ahead and start this off. When I typed in the address from the station and our hotel in New Orleans, it said 7.5 hours. You just tapped an extra hour. You're already making our trip tougher on us. I don't appreciate it.
I don't think Clinch knows who's driving to New Orleans.
There's a reputation I've heard about Jeff Jones that he may or may not hang around the 90 mile per hour.
Oh,
I-10. Is that true?
What? Are we rolling? Are we rolling?
I was going to say, how are you going to answer that?
I want to warn the police in Beaumont.
Beaumont. I drive safely. Put it like that. I drive safely. Yeah, we're looking forward to it, though.
I am too. You guys, last time we went, when I was with KVUE, my last football season, 2018, it was a very fun week, but there were 2 of us, and there's 5 of you. Is there another body going with you that I'm not aware of? Who else is going with you guys?
So 6 of us are heading out there. We got the 4 on the screen that you see, and then 2 guys who you won't see on air, but they do everything you could imagine behind the camera. So a really good, talented group, man. I think we're doing this thing right. You'll be able to see us live around the clock from like 4:30 a.m. to.
They got us working, Sean. They got us working, dog.
I'm fired up though. It's going to be a work hard, play hard, but
they'll be playing hard after 10:30. I promise you that.
On and off the field.
And eat 3 square meals because you will leave and come back to Austin at least 10 to 12 pounds heavier.
Well, I ain't trying to look like Zion.
Hey, I was about to say that all-state tight end you were telling us about. An all-state left tackle, huh?
Yeah,
the only thing tight on me will be my pants as we leave, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
that was B. Mays' nickname, the tight end, by the way. I didn't make that up.
That's right. Yeah,
I didn't hear that, B. Mays. We never got that backstory.
It's a long story I made up a long time ago.
Hey, before we get going here with episode 336 with these, really, you got to follow all of them. The KVUE boys, every one of them, they do a great job. They really know how to tell stories the right way. They're engaging. Tyler Feldman, all of them. Just good talents. Every single one of them. Follow them on social media. You'll be entertained thoroughly and watch Jeff, Corey, Tyler, even B. Mays lead the newscast. It's a great product every day. And before we get going, you probably see it in the lower right-hand corner, Honest Plumbing and Air, a name change, but same great service. And, they're saying is where a handshake still means something. That's something that probably initiated or began where Brian's from in Houston County in Crockett, Texas, all about the handshake, I would assume.
Just got back from there, as a matter of fact, and it hasn't changed much since you were there last, Sean. I can tell you that.
30 years have come and gone, and things look the same. So how do the Sugar Bowl? It's in the rotation for the CFP, as it is frequently. This is a rematch, Texas, Washington. Beginning with you, Corey, and we'll go Corey, Tyler, Jeff, and Brian. This rematch from last year's Alamo Bowl is totally different, in my opinion, because you actually have everybody locked in and not opting out because to protect their NFL draft stock, so to speak. What is different about this matchup this year, do you think?
Well, I think that's the first point that we got to talk about, because we were able to speak to Christian Jones early last week, right tackle, and he mentioned how he didn't want to say it, but he kind of said it at the same time about how it was a different feeling knowing that Bijan opted out, Roshan opted out, and he just felt like it was just kind of like another game to them. Yeah. It didn't feel like they were bought in, so to speak. And so I think this time around, not only are they bought in, but there's something to play for. And of course, they lost that game last year. Yeah. And so that's also another factor of motivation. And the guys have been chirping, the Washington guys today.
I heard that.
Close, and they've been chirping. Of course, we've seen what happens when you chirp. The guys see it on social media. They use it as motivation, and they've been able to stop all the chirping and every single aspect of it so far this season. So we'll see how this time goes.
Tyler, I would love to hear about all I saw or read the quotes and tweets today from the Huskies. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can elaborate more on that too, Tyler. I mean, what's your opinion on that? Because Texas has been very quiet all year, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think the one thing that is the same in this rematch is that Washington's offense is still really good, led by arguably the top quarterback in the country, Michael Penix. He was putting that bulletin board material up today. Byron Murphy had something to say. He just quote retweeted how Byron Murphy quote retweeted saying that just the date of the game, January 1st, 7:45 p.m. And like Corey said, we saw what happens when you do that and how, hey, this Longhorns team is flat out better. You don't need two eyes to know that this Texas team this year versus last year is just better, especially on the defensive line. That's the matchup I'm looking for, that Washington offensive line, that Texas defensive front, because you look at the numbers, the Longhorns secondary is their weakest position, 96th best in the country, and then the Washington pass offense tops in the country. So that's the matchup I'm looking for. Of course, last year we talked about it, but no Bijan Robinson, no Roshan Johnson, and they only lost by a touchdown. So this year you got both teams fully healthy, full strength. So I think it'll be a totally different matchup.
JJ, you guys all collectively have seen and been around this team, but can you read their body language, the Longhorns, how they want to say something, but they're holding back a little bit because they're aware? People read and see social media regardless of what the company line is, right?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. And I do have to point out, speaking of body language, anybody watching the video feed, if you're not watching Corey Mose take these big sips of a frosty cold beverage every few seconds, just keep your there we go. Where did you hide mine, Corey? What
Hey.
Fine over here.
Don't you got to be on the desk tonight? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's right. I'm still working it. But Sean, question, man, and this is something that when Corey talked about the Washington players chirping today, I was about to chime in and say T'Vondre Sweat, probably the team's best player this season, responded to that by doing exactly what you said, Sean, by kind of saying something but not really saying something, which said a lot. And so for those of you who haven't seen this yet, and if you are a dedicated K viewer, I call them, that means you watch KVUE, you saw it at 6, you'll see it again at 10. What T. Sweat basically said is, and he's one of the funny guys on the team, but he had a lot of long pauses in this short sentence, times where he was gathering himself, making sure that he didn't send back any of that bulletin board material. And he said, we want to get our respect on game day. For a guy who just won the Outland Award as the best interior lineman in the nation, to say that he feels disrespected, a guy who stands 360 pounds, about 6'5", like that should be scary to the guy watching, even though that is literally the best offensive line in college football. They won the Joe Moore Award. We know they're legit, but the guys they're facing are legit too. And what I think is going to separate that battle is in the third and fourth quarter, when it's those same 5 Washington offensive linemen, and those big dudes get tired. Like they are used to playing the entire game, but big men get tired. That's just physics, science, football, math, whatever you want to call it. They're going to get tired, and the Texas D-line is deep. So they're going to keep on rolling guys. Ethan Burke, Darren Sorrell, Vernon Broughton. They're going to keep on rolling guys. And I think in the third and fourth quarter, you're going to see the scales tip a little bit towards the guys wearing burnt orange.
And I like that. And Brian, so Brian and I, we've been to a couple of games this year. We always go to Texas OU. He is very, you're not calculated. You're very, if you read Brian, his body language will tell you that he feels I've seen a confidence in him going into games, during games, talking about it, just very cautiously optimistic, but Am I on to something, Brian? You're a little bit more confident than usual.
Yeah, I feel like that. Tyler hit on a good point. The pass game for Washington versus the secondary for Texas, without a key member to start the first half of this game, is going to be a big thing to watch. I think this team has changed the mentality of the entire fan base, in my opinion. And like you say, we go to a lot of games, more as a fan now, obviously, than these guys do. But I feel like that this team has learned how to win, and that's a key. There was a team in 2000, the last team that went to the Sugar Bowl. Yeah. They could win, but they did it in a lot of different ways, and sometimes it was smoke and mirrors. This team does it with X's and O's. There's no smoke and mirrors here. You go back to the way they beat Kansas State. You go back to the way they lost to Oklahoma. That game could have really been a blowout in seasons past. But this year it came down to the last 15 seconds. And I think that proves that this team under this coaching staff, that's going to be different next year, has learned how to win the right way and play all 3 phases. Offensively, clearly they have probably the most talent they've had since 2009, 2008 even. Defensively, the best defensive lineman in the entire country. And the thing that boggles my mind, like Jeff just talked about, the one person they always point out, or the position group that gets the most smoke, is the best one on the team. If you're going to point at somebody, point at the secondary that's clearly not the strongest part of this team. Don't point your comments at the defensive line. I don't understand it. Oklahoma State did it. Texas Tech did it. We saw how those 2 teams ended up. I think that's how this game is going to go, personally.
That up front, and that's the area where Texas has, over the last 10, 12 years, has not been deep or as talented as they are now. Hey, just for fun, little Sugar Bowl comparison. Texas, Washington. Now, Washington is, depending on who you ask, is somewhat of a blue blood. But look at Darrell K. Royal. That's where he left Washington for one season and then went to Texas. Sark, Washington, then Texas. But if you look at the record, since 2014, that's about a 10-year sample set. Washington's won a few more ball games. So, I mean, these programs over the last 10 years, 15 years are very similar. And it just really blows my mind away when you think about Darrell Royal and Sark in this game. Now, these kind of comparisons come out all the time, and we'll go back down to you, Tyler. I mean, is there anything I'm missing here on this graphic to Tyler?
Well, no, I did want to say, though, when you talked about Brian's confidence in this team, we've seen that confidence at KVUE during the newscast. If you go back to shows from a year ago to this time this year, the confidence, it's noticeable. It's noticeable at the KVUE desk. So I just want to make that very clear.
He's got a little swagger.
Yeah, he walks in with more swagger. It makes a huge difference when the Longhorns are winning.
It makes a difference in my house. I promise you that.
No one's poking the bear on the desk, okay? There's no one poking the bear. It's all confidence all the time.
I can see that. It's so I guess, everyone wants to talk about the quarterbacks. Always, every matchup. Woo, look at us. I don't know what happened here. Man, what is this?
You're pushing buttons.
New computer here. I don't know what's going on, but you mentioned it. Michael Penix Jr. and Quinn Ewers, very similar, but not. And you look at the numbers. Ewers over 3,100 yards passing. Penix 4,200. And the one thing that I noticed about these two that I just noticed while just doing a little bit of research, Ewers has been sacked 25 times, and Penix has only been sacked 10 times. Now, I don't know if my information is inaccurate, but if you have that much time in the pocket, I mean, I'm not taking anything away. Penix is by far, I think, the best quarterback in the country. Are we saying that maybe Washington has the better offensive line potentially? We'll start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, Washington's O-line, as I said earlier, won the Joe Moore Award. That award to the top offensive line in the country. Texas, which was a team that was a finalist for the a semifinalist for the Joe Moore Award, when they cut it to about 10 teams left, Texas and Washington were both on that list. So both of these offensive lines, I think it's fair to say, are elite. They're in the top tier of offensive lines in the entire country. Many offensive lines, Texas is included, said before the season started, the Joe Moore Award was their goal. Texas went as far as to tell us that they had a list on the door of their offensive line team room that they would pass every day, and it was the qualities of a Joe Moore Award winning offensive line. And so they had to tell themselves they checked off that list every day. This was their goal. They didn't reach it. The other guys took it from them. So, the other guys right now seem like they're better.
I mean, Corey, Tyler.
It seems like a get-right game. To be honest, like for that offensive line for Texas, it's like, y'all may have gave them the award, but we feel like we're still the better offensive line. And so I'm interested to see how the running game for Texas kind of pushes them over the top, because I think that's one way that you've seen Washington kind of have a, I guess, not so potent offense is their game against Oregon State. Oregon State was able to run the football. And I believe Damian Martinez, the running back for Oregon State, rushed the ball for over 28 times that game. And Penix only threw the ball 28 times that game. And so, of course, the formula is run the football, keep Penix off the field. And that's the formula. And so that's what Oregon State did. They laid it out. And so now with the way C.J. Baxter and Jaden Blue and Keelan Robinson, the way they've been running the ball the last few games after Jonathan Brooks got injured, you can attest and hope that Texas is going to lean on the running game to keep Penix off the field, because that's what Oregon State did. And they only lost by 2 points, even though DJ threw 2 picks that game. So I think that's the formula, is to run the football, keep Penix off the field. And I think that the offensive line is going to try to prove to the nation that we deserve that award over the Huskies.
I would argue that I don't know if Washington's offensive line has faced a defensive line as talented as what Texas has to offer. So that's why I'm intrigued. There's just no chance. Yeah, Jeff, I totally agree where, sure, Michael Penix has only been sacked 10 times, Quinn Ewers 25 times. I would say that Quinn Ewers is basically the Brian Mays of this Texas football team. He's been walking into every game with a ton of confidence, and that's changed the complexity of the entire team. I mean, look at all the pieces around Brian during this football season at KVUE. It's been unbelievable. When Quinn is on and he's accurate, he is a dangerous force to be reckoned with. So if he gets even a little bit of protection, that's what I'm interested in seeing. The protection he gets, how he performs connecting with his receivers, and then I'd like to see Washington's offensive line back up what they're saying against one of the most talented defensive fronts in the country.
So go ahead, Corey.
I want to say on that note with Quinn, I've been on this tangent about how Quinn plays really well in big games. And I don't think that we've made a big enough, I guess, effort to promote that, because the stats back it up. I finally sat down and looked everything up and added up all the stats from Texas versus Alabama this year, the Alamo Bowl last year, the Red River last year, and the Red River this year. I didn't count Texas versus Alabama a year ago because, of course, Quinn got hurt. But if you add those stats up together and average them out, Quinn averages 338 yards in those games, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio with 338 yards in big time games. And so he's just been on this track where when the lights are bright, dude shows up. And so to Tyler's point, yes, if you give Quinn the protection, I mean, he's one of the most lethal quarterbacks in the nation. And I think that's what they've been showing the last couple of weeks.
And I think what else shows up big in big games is Sark. What we saw in that Big 12 championship game from an offensive like sequencing and play calling and the leverage and tails that he was able to get pre-snap, that was just mental bullying. He went inside the mind of the defensive coordinator, slapped him around a bit, came outside of his mind so he could watch Texas score all those touchdowns. It was, I don't want to call it embarrassing.
Yeah, this is the kids' program.
It was
holy cow. Oh my goodness.
Treat the defense like a bunch of kids.
I
want to do that.
Oh my God.
And so what I think is awesome, you guys talk about, a lot of people talk about how Quinn looks so great, how he's so accurate, how he's completing 11 passes in a row. Sure. But the passes he's completing are not tough throws. So he's doing his job and he's put in position to succeed because of what Sark and his offensive staff are able to do pre-snap and post-snap to make Quinn's life and job easy. So we got to celebrate them too.
That's a great point. It has not been promoted. And, when you look at Quinn from their last matchup in the Alamo Bowl, it's night and day, but he did have a good game last year. And
yeah,
Brian, I'm going to play the soundbite from the Washington coach, DeBoer. And I want be Mays to kind of elaborate after you guys hear this. You guys have already heard this already, but this is the Washington coach talking about the difference in Quinn from last year to now.
We're expecting a much different football team than we saw, which was a very good football team even a year ago. And so, he's protected. He understands. I think just from a football sense, it's another year into your career, and so been very impressed. He can deliver the ball, put it wherever he wants.
They watch tape. They probably watch the top players toward the end of the year. Some of the analysts, whatnot. They've got a great scouting report on him.
Absolutely. And if you look back to that game he played last year, Corey mentioned the stats from the Alamo Bowl 1 year ago. Casey Kane was the leading receiver, and he's not even a starter. The receivers they have this year, I think Worthy, we know now, wasn't quite 100%. He dropped a touchdown in that game, a couple of easy catches he makes with his eyes closed in that game, or that game's different, with a totally different team than they finished the season last year with. I think what's interesting about this team, it kind of reminds me a little bit of 2005 when we were at the Rose Bowl, and USC had 2 Heisman finalists, and their offensive line was the best they've ever seen, and they had 2 running backs that were going to be top 3 round draft picks in Lindell White and Reggie Bush, and everybody all week talked about how it was a mismatch, how this line was better than the defensive line for Texas, and the secondary at USC were better than the receivers for Texas. It's kind of what we're seeing now, and that motivation, I think, is we saw it with Iowa State this year. Texas they thrive off that motivation, just like that team did. I'm not saying Texas is going to win the championship, but I saw the exact same thing that year in the way that team responded to motivation and the way teams talked about them. They used it as motivation, and that's what happened to Iowa State when that offensive lineman talked about Tavondre Sweat. Tavondre Sweat treated him like he was a rented mule that night, and the guy was never the same after that. And it happened against Oklahoma State too. And I know I've never been on a college football team. I don't know what motivates great teams, but I saw it from an outside perspective that year, and I'm seeing the exact same thing this year.
That goes to the culture that Steve Sarkisian has built, because the locker room understands what can happen when you talk that kind of talk, and then they also understand what happens when other teams talk that talk and how you can change that into motivation to perform at another level, a higher level.
I was talking to, I don't remember if it was Corey or Tyler, could have been all 3 of us actually having the same conversation at one time. But I said to someone that I think UT's superpower this year has been finding ways to feel slighted, finding ways to tell themselves they're the underdog, or tell themselves that some random comments by an Iowa State offensive lineman are bigger than they actually are. Like, he shouldn't have probably said what he said, but it wasn't as big as they made it in their minds. And that motivation, like constantly finding different ways to motivate yourself, is not common. And it's really cool that the personalities on this team buy into that and believe that.
Clinch, I'm going to give you some credit for the supers here. Bulletin board material, FAFO, Brian Mays, all-state tight end. I mean, this is too good, man. This is too good.
I got to remove this because we can't see Tyler. You guys, so this is kind of we're gonna, we'd be remiss if we don't add the next layer, next page of disrespect that we call bulletin board material. I know this is very minimal, but he's not wrong. The Washington AD, Troy Dannins, talked about Texas and Ohio State. This is back in October that they have Texas and Ohio State have all the money, but they haven't won much lately. Ohio State has, Texas has not, as far as return on investment in championships. But if you're a Longhorn right now on this team, especially a guy like T. Sweat, you guys, I know you're going to agree with this. You probably talked about it a lot. If you're a fourth or fifth year guy, you're fed up with this. You want to be the guy or part of the resolution of flipping this program around because you know it was going to happen. Just win. But when you see things like this, you guys have a pulse of this team. They relish these moments. They relish when people open their mouths and have things that are tweeted out or brought to their attention. I mean, I just don't know why some people do it every week.
I saw this tweet. I need context. I need to know the question. I need to know what else was said. I need to know the tone in which it was said in because I think if you could take that quote easy and that makes sense. There's nothing wrong with that statement. And for me, I take the approach, I don't know if he actually meant anything by this more so than just answering the question, but I don't know what the question was.
Correct.
I don't know if this was like where this quote was just pulled from,
I mean,
I mean, what's said is said here, but like, I just want more context.
I get it. Because, we can all agree Twitter/X, it's full of angry people and people who are just, they just throw stuff out there. Not you guys.
I thought you were talking about yourself.
Well, I did want to say, though, Clinch, in the sense of trash talking and finding that disrespect, I think there's also a factor of not even having someone say something, but just hearing the outside noise of the public. I think that's something that David Benda brought up in one of the interviews of saying how going into that game against Oklahoma State, they knew Ollie was the number one rusher in the country. They knew everyone was talking about Ollie Gordon being a Heisman finalist and how he's been changing the game, only playing half the year, but still leading the nation in rushing. They didn't care, though, and they wanted to prove a point that, he may have done that against every other team in the Big 12, but he's not going to do that against Texas. And Ollie didn't say anything before the game. Oklahoma State's offensive coordinator, quarterback didn't say much. Now Ollie said something on the field. They didn't see that. They didn't see that on the field. They didn't see it on the field. He said it on the field. But in press conferences before the game, no, he didn't say anything. But they went into the game thinking, we're going to stop the number one rusher to prove to everybody that we can do that. And I think you got the same tone in the press conferences last week from Michael Taft and Jaren Thompson when questions brought up about Michael Penix and the number one passing offense in the country. They smiled and they said, well, we're excited for the challenge. And we can't wait to get out there. And it excites them to be able to show the nation, like, that's the number one passing offense, but we're going to try to shut them down. And so I think that's also a sense of motivation for these guys, not just about what people say, but to prove to everybody in the outside noise that y'all may doubt us, and we love that. And so we're gonna prove y'all wrong. And I think that's also how they motivate themselves.
Jeff, anybody, that's kind of, I do want to bring this up. You guys, I don't know how old were you guys in 1990?
Not thought about.
The sperm had not met the egg yet.
-3.
Not thought about.
So, Brian, this is what Corey just said triggered an emotion of mine. Growing up here in God's country at the ATX, Texas was down for a while. I mean, for like 5 years. I mean, and Houston was really good back then. Just strumming Texas. They put 60 on Texas in like 88 or 89.
Is that Warren Moon?
No, it was Andre Ware.
Remember that?
Andre Ware, yeah.
Andre Ware.
1990. It was a very similar group of seniors or leaders said they had enough. And Houston came in here like number 3 in the country. Texas was 10, and they were running the run and shoot offense, and nobody had stopped them. Texas did that night. That secondary. I mean, Brian, elaborate on that because I'm probably screwing this whole story up.
No,
Texas
you're right.
Whipped them that night.
The last time they stormed the field, if I remember correctly, at UT's
Wow.
Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium. But, of course, that season ended with Miami stealing Texas lunch money at the Cotton Bowl and just treating them like a bunch of punks. So, yeah, that was not quite the ending that this team hopes. But I see your point in that it was a group of guys that turned the tide. Now, it didn't stay turned the entire decade of the 90s. We know that. But at the end of the decade, we saw what happened when Ricky got here. But I think that this team is very similar in that, like you say, they were able to kind of change the narrative, change the way people kind of perceived. And I think this team did that at the end of last year in certain situations. But this year really were able to kind of change the conversation about the way people thought of this team. And Sam Ehlinger on the Sugar Bowl stage said the famous phrase, and that really, I think, triggered everybody
Brian,
one way or the other.
Brian, what did he say?
He said that they were back, and in fact, they were not. To the point he was insinuating. We were all there. I was caught up in the emotion too. Everybody went to sleep that night with a smile on their face if they wore burnt orange. But I think you're right, Sean. The 1990 team was one that kind of changed the narrative, and this team has a chance to do that. They haven't. I don't think they've done it yet. I think they've got 2 more games to do it.
Yeah, I do too. And this is something we've seen it. They've reached a plateau that they haven't been to in a decade. But we're talking about a cast of characters, good leadership. But if there was one thing, and we'll start with you, Corey, work our way from the bottom to the top here. If there's one element of this Sugar Bowl that nobody is talking about, is there anything that you guys can think of? Because I was really trying to dig deep, because I didn't want to let you guys down. I wanted to be prepared for this. I just can't think of. I mean, I know this weekend the layers upon layers of the storylines will be exposed, so to speak. You guys will unearth some stories, a lot of them. But is there one thing that comes to mind that maybe people should be talking more about?
Yeah, I guess for me, it's something that Sark has talked about all year. And it's this team finds ways to win in different ways. And I feel like looking at the stats and watching some of the games, Washington has yet to do that. They've won by passing the football, running the ball effectively. And in every game that they've won, and they won every one, Dylan Johnson, the running back, hasn't really had a bad game. They've been able to run the football effectively in every single game this year. And so they haven't really had to change the way that they operate. And so what if, and it's a big what if, because we all know how that Texas front seven is. What if Dylan Johnson can't run the football? What if they can't give him the ball 25 times throughout the game? And they have to lean on Penix to throw the ball 50 times on January 1st. Can they win that way? We don't know because they haven't shown it. Now, I can say Texas has shown that they can win running the football. They can win throwing it 50 times. And they can win by just leaning on their defense and hoping that a turnover happens. And so that's what I feel like no one's really talking about lately is can Washington find a different way to win in case that running game gets stalled out. And that's a big in case because, look, Ollie Gordon got shut down. Taj Brooks got shut down. 2 of the best running backs in the nation. Dylan Johnson, respect to you for what you've done, but you've been going against Pac-12 defenses. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's something that no one's really talking about. If Penix has to throw the ball 50, 55 times, can Washington still win?
Whew. Tyler, how do you follow that up?
I follow it up with this, Clinch. Hear me out. It's not too deep. Time off. Does it matter? The Big 12 championship seems like it was a month ago. People have been lighting the menorah. They've been grabbing presents under the Christmas tree. They're gearing up for New Year's. People have been doing family things, and it hasn't been a lot of football. Maybe the Pop-Tart bowl, okay? We've been enjoying some games here and there. But the break, how will that impact these two teams? Because you're in the part of the season, it's every week. You get one bye week, and now there's a break. What are we dealing with? Clint, Clint, go ahead, swallow your drink.
Dude, I saw Corey take 24 ounces of beer in one swallow.
I'm a natural.
Recommends. That's not what the doctor recommends.
For me,
I got a whole new respect for you.
I do too.
These great ideas. It's not that deep. How will the break impact these two teams?
No, that's a really good point.
Go to New York City for the Heisman ceremony. All this stuff has happened. So how do you get the team back together, refocused, re-energized, ready to play a huge football game in front of a huge audience, national semifinal? Texas, they're getting close to being back, but now you're presented with an opportunity. So how do you figure out ways where you haven't been in this situation before? Washington, on the other hand, has played in a semifinal more recently. So what does Washington do handling the break? What does Texas do handling the break? How will that impact? At least I'm looking forward to that first quarter. What's that first quarter going to look like? Will it take a few minutes for both teams to kind of get their feet wet?
And can I say something real quick before? On that note, my hope is that Sark's experience with Saban, he learned a few things about how to handle that big break. You know, my hope is that he's going to take some things from the Alabama stint and then use it for this team. So,
and this is no knock. I think that's a great perspective, but like Sark himself hasn't been the guy with the crown on his head having to make those decisions and calm everyone down. I mean, we do remember how Sark was energized before the Alamo Bowl. I can only imagine what we may see here before a much bigger ball game.
God.
JJ, I know that tunnel deal last year, Alamo Dome.
Man,
people made a big deal out of that. I thought it was, if you want your head coach to be, I'll say it. There are a lot of soft people in this world who get offended by anything. I liked it because no one, to Tyler's point to the earlier story, we don't know the whole context of what that guy was doing to Sark. He probably warned him 3 times to keep his hand off of his right pectoral.
I mean, I don't know if Sark's an energy drink guy, but who knows how many he cranked out. I mean, there's just a different energy that you kind of need to put yourself in before a big game. I hear all vantage points there.
I do too. JJ,
JJ, I got to get used to JJ because
I like it. I like it. I like acronyms.
I'm a double J guy, so JJ is interesting.
JJ, there's not enough JJs in this world. I think of JJ Joe. Was that the quarterback at Baylor, Brian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's him.
Yeah, JJ Joe.
What a name.
That's 3 J.
Oh my God.
It's unreal.
Only one person in my life has ever called me either JJ or double J, other than y'all, and it's the same person. It was my safeties coach at Cy Falls High School, Kirk Eaton. Awesome guy.
That's my guy. That's my guy. That's my guy.
And Jeff followed up Andre Sexton.
Huh? Andre Sexton. Yeah. Andre played safety along with me under Coach Eaton. And Coach
How did you know that? What?
Well, I mean, I knew it because we were on the same team.
No, I mean, how did Clinch know that?
Oh, Clinch is locked in. This is the man cave.
I know everything.
That's crazy.
I had Andre Sexton the week of the Big 12 championship game.
Episode 315.
437. And 3.
A little bit off.
And then I tweeted, and then Jeff had tweeted out, and I was thinking, oh my God. First of all, I didn't realize you went to Cy Falls. And Andre, just class act. I mean, you guys could be related.
Andre's a great guy. He's a lot more athletic than I am. So if we are related, I get beef with somebody because I didn't get the. But yeah, he's a great guy. So I guess to go back to what Tyler said about the time off, Sark has been open about his plan, and he detailed it with us in a pretty cool way. They got about a month off between the games. He said 2 weeks is going to be spent basically in the weight room, not dealing with football stuff, at least with the players. You know, the coaches will be getting the game plan done. And I love that strategy. And then something that he told us yesterday when they arrived in New Orleans, he said it's another strategic thing that he implements at this time of year. He won't lay the whole game plan on them on their first few days of practice. He's going to sprinkle it to them. So there's another big reveal every few days to get the guys excited about the game plan. Everybody on this call is a great storyteller. Y'all know how important those reveals are when we're telling stories. And Sark is using a storytelling tactic to make sure that his team is mentally peaking on game day. So
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think that's great. And I think it would be smart of the gate manager to stay away from, what was it, the right pectoral? Stay away from
hands off approach.
Yeah,
you get close to areola. That's when it all hell breaks loose.
It depends on the size of the areola, though. Yeah.
Back to
it's getting past my bedtime. my John Wick is burning low.
One element of this game that nobody's talking about, when you have teams that are at this level, it's going to be good on good everywhere. Like the matchup that I'm most looking forward to is, of course, the Washington O-line versus the Texas D-line, because that's great on great. But it's going to be at least good on good. But to me, that equals a close game. And in close games, one big hit or one big miss on special teams can decide it. Texas always comes out on top when it comes down to special teams. Whether it's Bert Auburn going 5 for 5 in a huge game and setting Texas records, or if it's Keelan Robinson taking a kickoff to the house, or if it's Xavier Worthy showing why he's not just one of the best receivers in the nation, he's also one of the best punt returners in the nation. We remember 2 years ago when Keelan Robinson blocked 2 or 3 kicks, and he was close to blocking another 2 or 3 punts. I don't know what the big special teams play will be, but there will be one, and I believe it'll be a game changer.
I like that. B. Mays, you've seen enough of these. You've felt and really got acquainted to the chemistry and game day preparation and strategies. I mean, this is by far one of the more genius type of approaches, in my opinion, as far as revealing in small increments while they're game planning.
Yeah, I think that Texas coaching staff has done really the last 2 games. And like Tyler said, it feels like it's 6 weeks ago, the Big 12 championship and the Texas Tech game. But Jeff hit the nail on the head. I think with Texas returners, Xavier Worthy and Keelan Robinson, there's not 2 better in the country, in my opinion, especially at this point in the season. And I think there's a guy who wears number 23 for Texas that is maybe the fastest running back in the entire country, that is a backup and has played great in the last 2 ball games. And I feel like there's going to be specific packages that Washington has no idea, no one's seen because they haven't used them. I think there's going to be some things that Jaden Blue does in this game that we haven't seen yet. And I feel like that speed in the Pac-12 is great, but I don't think they've seen anything like that from the backfield. With the combination of Worthy and Blue on the field at the same time. I just feel like that speed is going to be the difference, because speed doesn't take a day off. When you have a long layoff like this, you might get rusty in certain X's and O's, but the speed doesn't get rusty. The speed is going to be there, if not better than it was before. So I think Texas speed overall is going to be the difference for that in this ballgame.
And that's huge. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We'll talk about predictions. We're going to talk about icing on a Pop-Tart or frosting. What is it? Is it icing or frosting? I don't know.
It's not healthy.
It
It's not healthy. It's not healthy. It's diabetes
It
inducing.
tastes good, though.
They're really good. I haven't had one in 12 years.
I have a pretty on that, and I can't wait to share it when we get there.
Oh, bro.
I can't wait. And
That's a tease. That's just a pro right there. Jeff.
We'll be here all night.
we'll be all night. Hey, we get to hear Stevie Lee and see his acting with Hargrove Roofing. We'll see you guys on the other side of this quick break.
Here at Hargrove Roofing, we try to think outside the box to kind of get the creative juices flowing. So I brought in my friend Stevie Lee, former defensive tackle for the Texas Longhorns. He's going to help the team strategize, really motivate them, light a fire.
This guy's going to block down. This guy's going to block down. You put your butt into the guard, and that way my Mike linebacker gets free to do what?
Not only are they going to learn a thing or two, but they're going to also leave with a great attitude and a bunch of smiles on their faces.
I'm sorry, what does this have to do with roofing exactly?
Get out.
Right now.
I said get out.
For me, that's what it's all about. It's just having fun, making our employees have a great time. Hargrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof.
Hey, that's what you guys have to look forward to. And then you will see guys, as I did on downtown Bourbon Street, great musicians. They're smoking blunts out in the open. It's a beautiful world.
You don't have to be so blunt about it, Clint.
No, the locals there, wonderful people, and they all have great stories. Just don't do what I did and walk home one night by myself at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that didn't sound like a great idea.
Don't do that.
You would do.
Don't do that. Predictions. I'll start, and then we'll go back around to our normal rotation here. Corey, Tyler, Jeff, and B. Mays. I'm with you guys. I've changed my total perspective. You guys educated me in this episode. I'm going to say Texas with the quick start. Penix gets a couple of breaks. I'll take Texas only allowing 23 points, but scoring 34. 34-23 Texas.
Okay, that's a bit. I like that. 23 is an odd number, though.
That is odd.
That's an odd number.
I'm an odd dude.
Prime.
Did anybody know the spread? Tyler, you know the spread?
I think it's Texas favored by 4 right now.
Really? That's bigger than what I thought.
And the over-under is, I think, was it 62?
That I'd have to check again. I know the spread right now is 4.
I'm just thinking, man. I
don't think the over is going to hit. I just think that Texas defense, people just don't understand like how good that Texas defense is. Just because it's the Big 12 and people think that the Big 12 had a down year this year. But if you watch the tape and you watch the games, that defensive line is so dominant. It's crazy. And like I mentioned earlier, if Washington doesn't run the football, then what? So I'm thinking 31-20 Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. I would just like to say that I know we've been talking very positively about this Texas defensive front, but there have been games this season when teams have figured out ways to score points against that Texas defense. So when you bring in a team like Washington with the quarterback like Michael Penix Jr., with the passing attack that the Huskies have, I'm going Huskies. I went Huskies on our preview show. I'm sticking with the Huskies 30.
I respect that.
I think I said 34-31. I have to go back and see. Texas is more talented. But I think in these big game scenarios, we've seen the Longhorns perform this season. I also think, though, that Washington is very good as well. And there's a strong possibility that Longhorn fans could leave New Orleans disappointed. I think that's realistic. I don't think that's too far out of the orb of reality. Brian, it'll be okay. Okay? If that happens, I'll drive home. Passenger seat.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this. I don't know what I said in our show that we did on KVUE. I know I
forgot to. You said Texas.
I know I said I'm gonna go a little lower scoring than I probably said in that show. I'm gonna go Texas wins this one 24-17. I think we come away from the game feeling a lot better about the Texas defensive backfield than we expect to.
See, I think a lot of points are going to get scored.
Okay.
And when I say that, I'm always wrong. I'm going to say this is going to be a fight meet.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Hey, if you want me to tell things the complete opposite of what will happen, just hang out with me. Take me with you to the game.
I've seen it. Yeah.
That's why I've hung out with you once, but that's it. And that's
because everything that I said would happen didn't.
Yeah.
That night. B. Mays, what you got?
I think that Texas has the better team.
Okay.
I think Washington has the better record. I think Texas has the better team. And what I was talking about before the break, the fastest running back in the country this year was week 13. Jaden Blue, 22.3 miles an hour. The fastest wide receiver this year in the entire country was week 12. Xavier Worthy, 22.7 miles an hour. You can't coach speed. Texas has more talent. They have more speed. They have better coaches. I feel like they've got the better team. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think in the first half, with the Texas secondary depleted somewhat. I think Washington's going to have a pretty good first half. I think Texas in the end wins 42-38. I think it's going to be high scoring. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be one of those exciting games that people are talking about for about 3 days before we start talking about the rematch with Texas and Alabama.
Wow. So the over-under 62.5. You just said that'll be 80 points.
Yeah.
Combined.
I think it's going to be high scoring.
I'm taking the over. I'm taking the
You're taking the over?
Over.
Going under. Under for
Yeah,
me.
I'm going under.
2.5.
Yeah, Jeff, you're a defense guy. I feel like you're a defense first guy, which I can.
And that proud Trinity Tiger.
There we go. I am all of these things.
Yeah.
I will say this about the secondary, though. There's one thing.
Did one of y'all say that? Yeah.
Yeah. I think we all said that, yeah.
Nice.
There's one thing about that Texas secondary, not just Derek Williams being out the first half, but I think not having Catalan there as well is a factor that no one's really talking about when it comes to that rotation at safety, because I would be more comfortable if Catalan was still there because he's been part of the rotation throughout the year. And yes, Derek Williams out the first half, but you have a guy that you can trust. But him being gone too, and now you got to trust like a Jelani McDonald who hadn't really touched the field that much. I do see the point of, okay, then what? Because Sark loves to rotate those DBs, but if he has to not rotate them and mess up that rotation, then that's something we haven't seen yet. So I'm interested to see how that plays out.
To Brian's point, Texas may have the talent, may have the speed, but Washington's also got guys that can break some explosive plays. That's what I'm saying. Just in case Washington does win, people won't come back to this podcast and think that KU had no idea what we were talking about.
You're taking one for the team, huh?
I'm doing this for all of you guys, okay? I'm the safety net here.
I appreciate that. Hey, what they doing? Hunger Games? Is what they doing? Hunger Games?
I got to rewatch that. That's been a few years. I think the last time I watched that, Texas hadn't even played in the Sugar Bowl yet in 2018. So,
hey, we have a lot. I mean, a ton of. Well, we had for several years some interesting sponsors. Now we have eggnog poured on the winning coach. We've got stuff that make it fun, but it's all for charity. But I love this, the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I think it's the old Florida Citrus Bowl. I mean, I love how they made 2 holes at the top of the gold ball to insert Pop-Tart. So, I mean, do you have to have icing? I mean, are we an icing on a Pop-Tart guy? Is it a prerequisite? Does a champion of the Pop-Tarts Bowl have to have icing on their Pop-Tarts?
Clinch, what's on the top?
Pop-Tarts. Holes.
Yeah, you've got to have icing. Come on. You can't have a Pop-Tart.
Yeah, you got to have icing, bro. What? No icing? You want your mouth jarred in a Popeye's biscuit? Like, come on, bro. You got to have icing.
I will say, coming off my first ever cavity at 30 years old, 2 weeks ago, kids, if you're watching this, be careful. And if you are going to enjoy a Pop-Tart with icing, which is what I do personally recommend, make sure you're brushing your teeth, flossing appropriately, because you don't want to get stuck with that cavity.
You definitely don't want to see it progress and get larger like an amoeba. That's good talk about Pop-Tarts.
So, what I would say,
Jeff,
I don't call that icing. I think that's frosting on a Pop-Tart. I think, to me, icing has a different consistency. Icing isn't going to harden like that and just be a solid. Icing is going to have some sort of like gelatinous flow to it.
Yes.
What I prefer, I don't touch Pop-Tarts anymore ever since.
Okay, Mr. Big Man.
Toaster strudel is far and above a Pop-Tart. So I get a strawberry toaster strudel, put some icing on it because that has that gelatinous flow, and it's delicious.
Yeah, if you thought Pop-Tarts were bad for you, why don't you enjoy a strawberry toaster strudel and see how you feel afterwards?
Yeah.
And hey, by the way, we've got a special coming up that Jeff and the guys are working on. I think we should rename that KVUE. Gelatinous flow.
Gelatinous flow.
Yeah, we're just trying to keep our viewers honest, you know, Clinch?
You guys do a great job.
Hey, man, tell me something good.
I'll tell you something good. The fact that I got all five of us together, and on the eve of you guys making the trek east to New Orleans, man, you guys are going to have a great time. It's a lot of fun covering these big games, as you guys know. But what I'll tell you something good is that championship, the buzz from that is back in Austin. It's back around Texas. You've got people in Texas who are Texas haters on the surface, but deep down, they love when this program wins. That's something good.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just trying to say that program has a lot of fake haters. And a lot of true haters too. Corey, we'll start with you. Tell me something good.
Yeah, I guess I got a car yesterday.
Beautiful.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I got a car yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah, the last car was totaled, so I had to. Yep, long story, but
Glad
anyway,
you're here though.
Yep, glad to hear. God protected me for sure. And so, yeah, but first car note. So we'll see how that goes for the budget. But the good thing is, new car though. So
you need to go talk to Byron, your GM, see if we can help him give you a little raise to help that new car note.
Or he can just pick up the note.
Oh yeah, yeah, write it off.
Right? Just write it off. Right? That'd be cool.
Just slap a KVUE on the hood.
Yeah, free promotion.
Hey, Tyler Feldman, tell me something good.
I'll tell you something good, Clinchy. I'm here on this podcast. I mean, this almost
finally.
People need to know that this almost didn't happen. I got an individual text saying, "Whoa, brother, I apologize. I totally forgot about you. Hey, you still welcome to come on the podcast." And I took the high road. I just gave you a big thumbs up emoji. No words needed to be said, but I was just appreciative of your kindness to reach out to another member of the KVUE team to hop on here. Honored, privileged, got through a nice holiday season. Everyone's healthy. Everyone's doing well here on the screen. So that makes me happy. That's something good, Clinchy.
That is beautiful. And I celebrated a little more this year for Hanukkah because of you.
That is something I love to hear. And I'd love to hear more about how you went about celebrating that holiday more this year.
A beverage in your honor.
Little Manischewitz, or what are you trying to say here?
You know what? It's been a long time since I've had. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That I have to enunciate it. Manischewitz.
Oh, that was
solid.
Honorary member. Honorary member.
Oh, thank God.
Is that how that works?
Hey, I like being a member of multiple religions.
Hey, me too. I love seeing how people.
Diversity is everything.
I agree.
Jeff Jones, tell me something good, brother.
Follow that up, Jeff. Bet you won't. Probably.
So I guess you broke out a story. I'll break out a story too. And I guess the tell me something good before the story is I have raised a 4-year-old who is either hilarious or maybe a potential serial killer. Not sure. I think hilarious though. So here's the story. It's on Christmas, and my daughter has to go to the restroom. She goes to the restroom, does her business. I go in there to help her get up there and wash her hands, get soap and everything like that. So all of that's normal. We wash her hands, get soap. I set her down, and she's about to leave the room while I wash my hands, get soap and all that. And she said, "Bye-bye, Daddy." I said, "Goodbye, Jocelyn. I'll see you out there." And she said, "No, bye-bye, forever." And then closed the door. And so I opened the door quick and I said, "Jocelyn, what was that last thing you said?" She said, "Bye-bye." I said, "Did you say forever?" And then she just looked at me and I just looked at her and she walked away.
What the?
Oh
my God.
So I guess it all worked out.
That's good humor.
The sense of humor is off the charts, apparently. Yes.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. And I wasn't there for that conversation, but love that.
Yeah. That was great. I'll watch your back for you.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. She's probably going to be an upstanding citizen.
There you go, bro. Oh my God.
Hey, I don't know how you topped that. That was a great story, but tell me something good.
Well, I'll tell you, next year will be 20 years for me at KVUE, and I got to say, I've told each one of these guys individually, but I want to tell them all as a group and your audience as well that the KVUE sports team has never been better. You guys are fantastic. I can't wait to work with you in New Orleans. I hope we have a good time, but I hope we have a lot of good stories to tell. And I respect the heck out of all you guys. Clint, you as well. We worked together for a long time, and it's fun to be talking about this stuff with you guys, and looking forward to the trip. And I can't wait to get there. And hopefully Tyler's wrong again with this prediction of Texas losing.
Mays, you got me emotional. I should have my tissue box is all the way over there. Giving us
a year. Hey, it's been a fun year. It's been a great year, and I can't wait to have at least one more, maybe two more games to watch these guys work.
No, that's great stuff, and I'll second that. You guys are crushing it. It's I love the fact that, you know, because of the KVUE connection, the Channel of Champions continues. You know, you guys are doing a great job. Enjoy that trip. Even though it is work, you got to admit, you could be doing things that aren't as fun.
Yeah, like the podcast.
I'll let you know all about that. You know, but keep doing it. Now, hopefully we can circle back next week and talk about some game going on in Houston.
Yeah, and OU's down by 10, by the way.
Is that 3:37?
Whoa! What is happening? What is happening?
Whoa!
That's crazy.
I
don't know what I just activated. I don't know what I just activated. I don't know. Hey, shall hold it down.
RBI, baby. Hey, look, we are officially recruiting. Hey, we're doing an end-of-year fundraiser. Click on the link and help the inner city kids of RBI. It's a beautiful organization. Tyler's a member of it now on the baseball side, correct?
Head coach.
Coach. He's a coach.
Oh, that's right. You're the MVP.
Yeah, he's a
that's
coach.
Right.
Coach of the year.
Why didn't you?
Well, we need to celebrate that. So that's 3 rounds on me when we all get together.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Because, you know, the champion coach over here needs to be honored. I'm not good enough to be coaching. I just mentor young minds, which may or may not be a good thing. Hey, much love, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. I really do.
Right back at you, man.
Hey, you guys,
thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Clint.
And for the KVUE boys, the Channel of Champions, the pride of the Channel of Champions right here into the OG Man Cave boys, that being Hardball Harge, Big Mike, and Coach Mo, we are out.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up.